everyone, and welcome to another episode of the World of Wrestling podcast. I am Slim, and on this episode, we just cover the normal shit. This episode is the second last episode before we go on hiatus, and all it has is the usual, including the finals of the G1, and by the finals I mean the final two nights, not including the actual finals. Because the actual finals will be covered next week due to them taking place tonight, and I don't have time to record tonight, so I'm recording it now. So, I guess, let's kick it off with Raw. And it's night 2 of the draft this week. And so we kick the show off with Randy Orton. As Orton's coming out, we see what happened last week at the end of the 6-man tag match. Orton then says that he doesn't care if he goes to SmackDown or stays on Raw because either way he's beating McIntyre at Hell in a Cell. Randy then says that 2020 is the year of McIntyre. He also says that until he pinned Drew last week, it'd been almost a year since McIntyre had lost by pinfall. As Orton is saying he will take McIntyre's title by pinning him after an RKO, McIntyre interrupts him. Drew says that Randy screwed up last week because he gloated instead of punting him. Drew then says that when he kicked Orton at Clash, it was for everyone else, but when it comes to Hell in a Cell, he's going to kick him for himself. And last week, Drew says that he made a promise, and that promise is to kick the shit out of Orton whenever they're in the same building, and he wouldn't want to break a promise now, would he? Drew and Orton then brawl, but Orton manages to escape. First round draft of Raw. Well, on Raw, I should say, not of. Raw picks The Fiend, Randy Orton, and Charlotte Flair. SmackDown picks Bayley and the Street Profits. So yes, that does mean titles are switching. So the Raw tag titles are on SmackDown and the SmackDown ones are on Raw. Yep, that's great. Then we get a no DQ match between Kevin Owens and Aleister Black. Really good match. Owens wins by pinfall after powerbombing Black through a table. Round 2 of the draft, Raw picks Braun, Riddle, and Jeff Hardy. SmackDown picks Daniel Bryan and Kevin Owens. Okay, sure. Good picks, I guess. You know, Raw, the first round picks is what I was trying to say. Raw definitely won that with The Fiend and Randy Orton. I feel that Charlotte's not as good as what everyone makes her out to be. Like, she's good, but she's not that good. And obviously, Bayley, she's also in that same boat. She's good, but she's not the best either. And Street Profits are also good, but they're not the best. And then round 2, Braun, Riddle, and Hardy. You know, Braun's really good, but I think that SmackDown come in ahead there with Bryan and Owens. So, yeah. We then get Miz TV with Miz and Morrison. They guests are Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. Miz and Morrison have a go at the New Day and Heavy Machinery splitting up. Mandy says that Miz is ruining people's lives, and Miz and Morrison say that her career has been on the up since moving to Raw. Miz tries to drive a wedge between Mandy and Dana when he brings up the fact that they will both be in the dual brand Battle Royal. Natalya and Lana come out, and Lana says that Miz and Morrison should be interviewing them, and eventually Mandy and Dana brawl with Natalya and Lana. We then get more Miz TV after the break. Miz brings out another guest, which is John Morrison. Miz is about to interview Morrison when Lars Sullivan comes out and destroys Morrison because Miz got out of dodge. We then look at the New Day breakup. Backstage, Adam Pearce authorises a title switch between the two tag champs to keep the titles on the right brands. Rudolph show up and they say that the Profits are running away from them and they deserve a shot at the Raw Tag title since they won the 6-man last week. New Day answers the challenge. Round 3 of the draft, Raw picks Retribution, Keith Lee, and Alexa Bliss. And in Retribution, we've only got 5 members, including Mustafa Ali. So one of the members, Mercedes Martinez, to be more specific, is out. So, yeah. SmackDown picks Lars Sullivan and King Corbin. And if I'm being completely honest, Raw definitely won that. Right, Retribution could be really good. Like, they debuted them. They weren't too bad. Then they screwed them up completely. And then they brought in Ali. And that works great. Now all they need to do is keep whatever the hell they're doing now and have Ali be the mastermind and just do that. Try and push Ali. That's all they need to do. But they won't. But that's what they need to do. Keith Lee, always a good pick. And Alexa Bliss, also always a good pick because she is one of the best females that they have. And then, Lars is Lars, and Corbin, although he is really, really good and everyone shits on him, Corbin is really, really good. So, yeah. But Lars really brings SmackDown down there. Rollins is out next to bid farewell to Monday Night Raw. Rollins says that he is glad to be going to SmackDown, but it must be hard for the fans because they're losing a lot. Rollins then asks the Raw roster if they can fill his shoes, and he says that nobody can. Rollins then starts talking about the Mysterio family, but is cut off by Jeff Hardy. Rollins tells Jeff to leave because he's looking for a leader. Rollins then tells Jeff to focus on facing Lars, which he will do on SmackDown. Styles then comes out and tells Rollins to keep stepping, and Rollins has a go at Styles, and the three start to brawl. Jeff then challenges Rollins and Styles to a triple threat match, which we then get. So we've got Jeff versus Styles versus Rollins. It was, I'll get to what I thought of that at the end of this little bit. During the match, Elias returns, smashes his guitar over Jeff's back, which gives Styles the pinfall win. It was an awesome match. It was just... how could it not be? Right, I know that Jeff's matches have been hit or miss, right? But this match just proved that Jeff does still have it, and when he needs to bring it out and do it, he can. He can just turn it on and it'll be great. Obviously, if you got Styles and Rollins in there, it's always going to be great. But yeah, it was just awesome. So, round 4, Raw picks Elias, Lacey Evans, and Sheamus. SmackDown picks Sami Zayn and Cesaro and Nakamura. So, I think SmackDown wins that. Elias, great pick. Right, whatever. Lacey, okay pick. And Sheamus, good pick. Sami Zayn, really good pick. Cesaro and Nakamura, well, if you break that down individually, Cesaro, really good pick. Nakamura, great pick. As long as they book them right. We then get Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke versus Natalya and Lana. Decent match. Brooke and Rose won by pinfall after Brooke hit the senton from the top of Mandy Rose's shoulders. Post-match, Natalya has a go at Lana and says she's done with Lana. Backstage, we see the Hurt Business, and Ricochet says that he wants one last match, and because Apollo could be going to SmackDown, he would be left on Raw by himself. Ricochet says that if he wins, then they go their separate ways, but if whoever MVP picks from the Hurt Business wins, then Ricochet will join. We then have Andrade versus Angel Garza. Vega is on commentary. Good match. Garza wins by pinfall after hitting the wing clipper. Post-match, Vega checks on Andrade and The Fiend and Alexa Bliss show up and hit dual Sister Abigail's on Andrade and Vega. Round 5, Raw picks. Nikki Cross, R-Truth and Dabba Kato. SmackDown picks Rudolph and Apollo Crews. So, SmackDown definitely won that. Nikki Cross, that's okay, that's a fine pick. Yep, whatever. Good, cool, whatever. Truth, great pick. Obviously, it's R-Truth. Dabba Kato, why? Andrade's still in the pool. SmackDown, Rudolph, you can't go wrong with Ziggler. And Rude can be really great if you let him be. And Apollo, he is also really good. So, obviously, SmackDown wins that. Then we have the New Day defending the Raw Tag titles against Rudolph. Pretty good match. New Day win by pinfall after hitting the Midnight Hour on Rude. Sort of spoiled that when they drafted them to SmackDown. Backstage interview with Elias, who says that Jeff hit Elias with a car and took him out of action for months, and he doesn't forgive Jeff. Elias says he has a new album dropping on the 27th, my time. Next week we're having a concert. Then we get Ricochet vs Cedric Alexander with the Hurt Business. Pretty good match. Ricochet wins by DQ when he hits the ring with a steel chair, throws it to Cedric and drops to the ground. So when the ref turns around, it looks like Cedric hit Ricochet with the chair. Just like what Eddie Guerrero used to do. As soon as I saw that, I went, holy shit, that is great. That is awesome. So that means that Hurt Business has to leave Ricochet alone. And, you know, that's a throwback to Eddie Guerrero, so that's cool as. We then look at what happened between Keith Lee and Braun Strowman last week. Final round of draft on Raw, and Raw picks Titus O'Neil, Peyton Royce, and Akira Tozawa. SmackDown picks Carmella and Aleister Black. Let's break this down. Titus, why? Andrade's in the draft pool. Peyton Royce, yep, sure, fair enough. Akira Tozawa, Andrade's in the draft pool. Carmella, sure, fair enough. And Aleister Black, also fair enough. So SmackDown definitely won, because it's obviously two good picks to one. So, yeah. But we do have one on Raw Talk as well to talk about. Main event time, and it's the number one contenders dual brand battle royal to determine Asuka's next opponent. Asuka joins commentary. Before the match, Nia says that either herself or Shayna will win. Also in the match is the Riot Squad, Tamina, Peyton Royce, Billie Kay, Lana, Natalya, Nikki Cross, Lacey Evans, Bianca Belair, Mandy Rose, and Dana Brooke. That's all the competitors. When Nia's eliminated, she grabs Lana and puts her through the announcer's table again. Backstage, we see Orton and McIntyre brawling. Just during the match, we see that. Final four are the Riot Squad, Natalya and Lacey Evans. Final two are Lacey and Natalya. In the end, Lana wins, eliminating Natalya because Lana never got eliminated when Nia attacked her. Post-match, Orton and Drew fight their way to ringside and continue to brawl to close the show. So on Raw Talk, right, we get another round of picks, and Raw picks Lana, Riddick Moss, and Arturo Ruas, and SmackDown picks Natalya and the Riot Squad. Again, Andrade was in the draft pool, and he hasn't been picked. So, yeah, they're all just shit picks. I don't think either side wins. I guess you could say that SmackDown wins because the Riot Squad's decent, but I don't know. And after Raw, right, there was 6 people left that were undrafted. And they were Andrade, Mickie James, Tamina, Zelina, Billie Kay, and who else was it? God, I hate that. I didn't write it down because a whole bunch of people got picked and I didn't want to write it down in case the rest of them did as well. Shit. That's so annoying that I've forgotten it now. I did have them all memorised. Shit. Let's see. Let's see if I can't find out who it is. But I know that 4 of them got picked. Yeah, there we go. I found it. So there was Andrade, Mickie James, Billie Kay, Zelina Vega, Tamina, and Eric of the Viking Raiders. And SmackDown picked up Billie Kay, Tamina, Zelina Vega, while Raw picked up Eric. Left undrafted is Andrade and Mickie James. That is just stupid. Andrade is undrafted. I know that he's meant to be going for surgery or something. But he'll only be out for a month or two, I'm pretty sure I read. So it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't, but you know, that's whatever. Anyway, so yeah, like I said, only 2 people are left undrafted. That's Mickie James and Andrade. And I don't understand it. However, we're going to move on to AEW Dark, and this week's Dark has 14 matches. And if you think that's a lot of matches, next week it's got 16. I guess they knew that this was going on hiatus, and they went, shit, we'll make it super long because he hates that. And we're just going to make it even longer because it's the last episode for a while. Anyway, so 14 matches. We kick Dark off with Evil Uno versus The Blade versus Frankie Kazarian versus Jungle Boy. Pretty good match. Jungle Boy wins by pinfall with a jackknife pin. Post-match, Uno attacks Jungle Boy, and the rest of the Dark Order come down and they also attack. Butcher comes down to help Blade out. He attacked Jungle Boy and Kaz, I should say. I sort of looked here and I went, oh yeah, shit, I forgot to say that. Because I'd wrote it in a different spot. Because I'm an idiot. Anyway, so Jurassic Express come down. Marco has a kendo stick. Christopher Daniels also comes down. Eventually, Jurassic Express and SCU wind up getting rid of Dark Order. Then we have Lee Johnson and Cesar Bononi versus Lucha Brothers. Pretty good match. Lucha Brothers win by pinfall after hitting the Spike Package Piledriver on Johnson. After that is Brandon Cutler versus Peter Avalon. Leva isn't in either corner, but she is there. Avalon attacks Cutler during Cutler's entrance. Avalon also asks for a forfeit victory afterwards, but Cutler gets back in the ring. Or gets in the ring. Doesn't get back in the ring because he was attacked beforehand. Pretty good match, but it ends in double DQ. Post-match, Leva walks out on both. Backstage interview. Well, no, not interview, but backstage. We see Sonny Kiss, who says that he'll beat Matt Sydal. Then we get Matt Sydal versus Sonny Kiss with Joey Janela. Pretty good match. Sydal wins by submission with the STF Cobra Clutch. Next up on the card is Aaron Solo, Angel Fashion, and Mbadu versus the Dark Order, 3, 4, and 10. Good match. Dark Order wins by pinfall after hitting a triple team move on Aaron Solo, and even the commentators don't know what the hell the move is. So that's why I just said a move. It was like a windmill sort of thing. They had him up, right? One had one arm, one had the other, and then one of them just ran through and pushed his legs up and over, and they just brought him down. So that's the move. We then get Elena Black vs Red Velvet. Brandy Rose joins commentary for this match. Good match. Velvet wins by pinfall after hitting Just Desserts. Next we have Fuego del Sol vs Ricky Starks. During the match, Starks joins commentary. Good match. Starks wins by pinfall after hitting the Rochambeau. Backstage interview with SCU as Sky goes to talk. As he goes to talk, Shawn Spears shows up and he talks to SCU and eventually gets Christopher Daniels to. Eventually, Christopher Daniels gets in his face, is what I was trying to say. Tully says next week we will have Christopher Daniels versus Shawn Spears. After that, we get Ryzen and Max Stardom versus the Gun Club with Colton Gunn. Starks joins commentary at this point. Good match. The Gun Club win by pinfall after Austin hits a quick draw on Stardom. We then have Nick Comoroto versus Darby Allin. Good match. Darby wins by pinfall after hitting the coffin drop. Post-match, Darby attacks Starks, who was still on commentary. Starks then leaves. Promo from Colin King, who talks about Nyla Rose attacking her, and she calls Rose a coward. Next up is Colt Cabana with Evil Uno versus Griff Garrison. Good match. Colt wins by submission with the Billy Goat's Curse. Following that, we have Colin King versus Nyla Rose with Vicky Guerrero. Decent match. Rose wins by pinfall after hitting the Beast Bomb. Post-match, Vicky says that they will not step in a ring until Shida accepts a match against Nyla. After that, we have D3 versus Joey Janela with Sunny Kiss. Good match. Janela wins by pinfall after hitting 3 brainbusters. It's then Elijah Dean versus Wardlow. Squash match. Wardlow wins by KO with the top rope dropping knee strike thing that he does. Main event time, and it's Eddie Kingston versus Baron Black. Good match. Kingston wins by submission with a front chancery. Moving on to AEW Dynamite. This week's Dynamite is the first anniversary of Dynamite, and it starts with the AEW World Tag Team match between Best Friends and FTR with Tully Blanchard. During the match, Trent goes through an arcade cabinet, and Kip tells Ford to go and get him. Really good match. FTR won by pinfall after Cash used the belt on Chuck's head while the ref was down. Post-match, Miro and Kip Sabian attack the Best Friends. Then we get Miro and Kip Sabian with Penelope Ford versus Sean Maluta and Lee Johnson. Squash match, Miro and Sabian win by submission when Miro locks in the accolade. Post-match, Kip says that they went too far by destroying his prized possession, that being the arcade thing. Miro gets on the mic and says something in Russian or Bulgarian or whatever language it is. Not sure if they speak Russian in Bulgaria or if they speak Bulgarian or what. I don't know. I'm not a friggin' expert. All I know, right, is that he said something that's not in English. He says whatever it is, and then he says that, good friends, you break my shit, game over. And by good friends, he means the best friends. Backstage, we see Archer and Moxley brawling. Then we see the brackets for the tournament that they'd announced the other week. I'm not going to go through it because I think we're having first round matches next week. So you can just, unless you already know what it is, you can just wait. MJF is out for his special announcement. He taunts the crowd who are booing him. Then he asks for Jericho to come out. Jericho and the Inner Circle come out and Sammy refuses to put on his new jacket. Jericho forces him to, and it is massive. Like, you know, about 7 sizes too big for him. MJF sucks up to Jericho. Jericho then tells MJF to cut the shit. MJF says that he and Jericho are the 2 biggest minute-for-minute draws. He continues on and says that they've never gotten physical in the ring because they have mutual respect. MJF asks what would happen if he were to join if they were to join forces, or he was to join the Inner Circle, to ensure that they stay at the top of the food chain. MJF is about to ask if he can join the Inner Circle, but he can't do it. However, third time is the charm. Ortiz takes MJF's mic and says no, but Jericho says they will talk about it before asking if Max wants to meet him one-on-one next week for a steak dinner. MJF accepts, and the two shake hands. Wardlow and Jake Hager stare each other down the whole time Inner Circle is leaving. We then get Tony Schiavone interviewing Dr. Britt Baker while they are getting facials and massages, and I don't know, I don't do this shit, so I'm guessing that's what it was. We then get rule number 5 from Britt Baker, which is to be the baddest bitch on the block. We then see Tony getting a chest wax, a pedicure, and Britt continues to talk about her comeback, which continues next week. We then have Orange Cassidy vs. Cody with Arn Anderson and Brandy Rhodes for the TNT Championship. During the match, Force steals the TNT title so he can hit Cody, but Orange disarms him and the ref sends the entire Dark Order, who were at they were watching on in the crowd. He sends them to the back. Really good match. Ends in time limit draw. Backstage interview with Lance Archer and Jake Roberts, who say that... Well, they say a couple of words, and then Moxley attacks Lance, and the two are then separated. Ringside interview with Matt Hardy, who says he feels practically perfect. Matt also says he's 100% cleared to compete. We then see someone burning pictures of Matt, and it's Sammy Guevara. He says that he's the one that attacked Matt, and Sammy says that this isn't done until he makes Matt stay at home permanently. Matt says that Sammy is the first order of business. We are then told 4 teams that will face each other next week to determine who will challenge FTR at Full Gear. To determine the 4 teams, they have a tumbler thing, like what they used to do for the Rumble. And when a team is drawn, they come down to the ring. So first team is Private Party. Second team is 3 and 4 of the Dark Order. Third team is the Butcher and the Blade. Last team, Young Bucks. Bucks and FTR shake each other's hands, but they are very in each other's faces. Nick Jackson gets on the mic and says that they aren't here to superkick Schiavone, and they superkick 3 and the Blade instead. They then throw the tumbler at FTR, and all the teams start brawling. Bucks stand tall after superkicking Private Party. Then we get Big Swole challenging Hikaru Shida for the AEW Women's title. During the match, Shida is sent into a cameraman. Good match. Shida wins by pinfall with the Tomashi. Eddie Kingston and the Lucha Brothers come out, and Eddie joins commentary. Then we get a hype package for the Scorpio Sky Shawn Spears rivalry. Main event time, and it's Jon Moxley defending the AEW World Championship against Lance Archer in a no DQ match. Really good match. Moxley wins by pinfall with a crucifix pin. Post-match, Eddie Kingston sends the Lucha Brothers down to help Moxley when Lance attacks Mox. Roberts gets Archer to leave. Kingston then gets on the mic and stops Penta from hitting Mox with a chair and says that he loves Moxley. And he also says that he is so proud of Moxley and raises his hand before hitting the spinning back fist, locking in the rear naked choke and putting Mox to sleep. Lucha Brothers stop people from getting in the ring to break it up. Eddie then issues a warning to Mox that he will get him. Moving on to NXT, and this week it starts with the Undisputed Era, that being Strong and Fish, with Kyle O'Reilly versus the Britain Brawlers in a number 1 contenders match. After Era's entrance, Kyle O'Reilly gets on the mic and says that he will be cleared next week, but Cole still has broken ribs. He then says that if Era had gotten their hands on Ridge Holland, he would be in the same hospital bed he is in now. Kyle O'Reilly then says that tonight Era will become number 1 contenders, and next week they will become champions. Good match. Undisputed Era win by pinfall after Strong hits a jumping knee strike on Lorcan. Um, we then get an update on Balor, and Regal says that they aren't taking the title from him yet. They're just going to see how his recovery goes. We then get a hype package for Ember Moon. Then it's Jake Atlas versus Ashanti V Adonis. Decent match. Atlas wins by pinfall with a small package. Post-match, Legado del Fantasma attack Adonis, but Atlas helps him out, and Swerve comes out with chairs. Backstage interview with the Garganos. They both say that they won at TakeOver, and it's their destiny to become dual champions together. Johnny says that Austin Theory will get a lesson of a lifetime tonight too. Then we have Austin Theory versus Johnny Gargano, which was a pretty good match. Gargano wins by pinfall after hitting one final beat. Backstage, Raquel Gonzalez challenges Rhea Ripley to a match at Halloween Havoc. Ripley shows up and accepts, but they are separated before they can brawl. We then have a number one contenders match for the NXT Women's Championship between Shotzi Blackheart and Candice LeRae. Pretty good match. Candice wins by pinfall after hitting Shotzi with brass knuckles that Indy Hartwell gave her. Backstage earlier in the day, we see Drake Maverick trying to convince Killian Dane on the team stuff. Dane eventually storms off when Maverick says that they have a match against Imperium. We then get a hype package for Toni Storm. Then we have Robert Stone and Aaliyah. Stone says that nobody wants to join the Robert Stone brand, but their loss will be somebody else's gain, which leads to Toni Storm versus Aaliyah. Good match. Storm wins by pinfall with Storm Zero. Backstage interview with William Regal, and he's not happy about the end of the Shotzi Candice match. He confirms Raquel Gonzalez versus Rhea Ripley. Xia Li shows up, asks for a match next week, and Regal says he'll take it under consideration. We then get Imperium vs Drake Maverick and Killian Dane. Good match, very funny at the start. Imperium won by pinfall after hitting the Imperial Implosion, which is formerly known as the European Bomb. They hit it on Maverick. Post-match, Everrise shows up and attacks Maverick, but Dane takes him out and tells Maverick that nobody hits Drake but Dane. Which was funny as old shit. Main event time, and it's Damian Priest defending the North American title against Dexter Lumis. During the match, Cameron Grimes hits the cave-in on Lumis on the apron, behind the referee's back. Really good match. Priest won by pinfall with South of Heaven. Post-match, Grimes attempts to attack Priest, but is hit with a Reckoning. Gargano also attacks Priest with a chair. Regal comes out and says that the stakes will be raised at TakeOver. In the women's title match between Io and Candice, and the North American title match between Gargano and Priest. Shotzi then reveals the stipulation will be revealed with spin the wheel, make the deal. Whatever the hell that is. I guess it was on the old Halloween Havoc shows that I haven't watched because I don't watch WCW. Moving on to NXT UK, and this week NXT UK kicks off with the first round match in the Heritage Cup between Dave Mastiff and Joseph Connors. Mastiff wins by knockout 25 seconds into the third round. We then get a promo package for Jordan Devlin. He talks about the interim Cruiserweight title and says that doesn't mean a thing because he's the real Cruiserweight champion, which is true. Backstage, we see Oliver Carter and Ashton Smith shows up. They talk about Pretty Deadly. Carter says next week he is facing Eddie Dennis. Well, we know how that match is going to go. We then get Isla Dawn vs Piper Niven. During Dawn's entrance, we see how this match has come about. Good match. Niven wins by pinfall after hitting the Piper driver. Backstage interview earlier in the day with Kenny Williams, who says he's prepared for Trent Seven. And we see Williams and Jordan training. We then look at what happened last week where Flash Morgan Webster was attacked backstage. Then we get a hype package for Trent Seven. Main event time, and it's Imperium, that being Wolf and Volta versus Dragunov, and done. Really good match. Dragunov and Dunn win by pinfall after Dragunov hit Torpedo Moscow on Volta. So that means, yes, Volta was pinned. Moving on to SmackDown, and SmackDown starts with the SmackDown roster on the stage, while Triple H and Stephanie McMahon are in the ring. Hunter and Steph hype up the show and run down the card. Everyone starts the brawl, beginning with Rudolph and the Profits. Eventually Lars comes out and destroys a whole bunch of people, including hitting the freak accident on Shorty G. We then get Lars Sullivan versus Jeff Hardy. Good match. Lars wins by pinfall after hitting the freak accident. Then we have the New Day versus the Bar and Nakamura. Before the Bar and Nakamura come out, the New Day get on the mic, and they say that they will be split up after SmackDown. They then run down their accomplishments. They talk about teaming together one last time. After the New Day's promo, we then get a backstage interview with the Bar and Nakamura. They say they will beat the New Day. Pretty good match. New Day win by pinfall after hitting the Midnight Hour on Sheamus. In between the New Day and the Bar and Nakamura's entrances, but before New Day's promo, we get a hype package for Bianca Belair. That was very confusing, I know. Backstage interview with Otis, and before Otis can say anything, Sami Zayn shows up and says that Otis loses everything, and Otis pushes Sami to the ground. We then get Daniel Bryan, who talks about what he can't wait to see with the new crop of talent that has come over in the draft. He mentions a whole bunch of names, but forgets one important person who then comes out and confronts him, that being Seth Rollins. He does tell Daniel that he forgot about him when he ran down the superstars. He can't wait to see and face. Rollins then asks what side of history Daniel wants to be on. Daniel says that Rollins' plan seems kind of dumb. Rollins attacks Bryan and the two start to brawl until Rollins runs away. But Ray and Dominic come out. Rollins tries to get Bryan to help him, but Bryan leaves. Murphy comes out and attacks Rollins. Murphy offers a handshake to the Mysterios, who decline. Then we get the Street Profits defending the SmackDown Tag Team titles against Rudolph, which I just thought of this. Rudolph have challenged for the Raw and SmackDown Tag titles in the same friggin' week. And you want to know something? They lost both matches. During the Profits' entrance, we get a promo from the Profits, who say that they're going to beat Rudolph. Decent match. Both teams lose when they continue to brawl without tagging. We then have the contract signing between Bayley and Sasha for their SmackDown Women's title match. Hell in a Cell title match at Hell in a Cell. Adam Pearce presides over the contract signing. Bayley says that Sasha is mad because she turned on Sasha before Sasha could turn on her. Bayley also says that she has done everything by herself. Sasha then brings up everything she has helped Bayley do, and Bayley then leaves and doesn't sign the contract. Sasha says Bayley will sign the contract one way or another. Main event time, and it's Braun Strowman challenging Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman for the Universal Championship. I should point out that on the screens in the Thunderdome, right, there were a bunch of people, like wrestlers, that were on it. There was Double J Jeff Jarrett. There was Goldberg, which shows up here, Mark Henry. There was someone from the NFL or something, I think, and there was also Keith Lee. Yeah. So where was I? Jey Uso is also watching this from the back. Good match. Reigns wins by submission with a guillotine. Post-match, Jey comes out to the stage and watches Reigns spear Braun again because he got back up. Reigns tells Jey to come down to the ring, which he does. Reigns then decimates Braun with a chair and tells Jey that if he can do that to Braun, just imagine what he can do to Jey. Jey gets in the ring and Reigns says that he would never hurt Jey and now Jey just needs to prove himself. Reigns kicks a chair over to Jey and turns around to give Jey a free hit. Jey then takes Roman down with a super kick before hitting with the chair, but Reigns gets up and Superman punches him before leaving. And that's how we closed the show. Moving on to 205 Live, and that kicks off with Ariya Daivari versus Anthony Green. As Daivari comes out, he says that if either Green or Curt Stallion can beat him by pinfall or submission, they will win $10,000 of his own money. Good match. Daivari wins by pinfall with the hammerlock lariat. Then we get Ariya Daivari vs Curt Stallion. Decent match. Stallion wins by DQ when Nice hits the running Nice from out of nowhere. Main event time, and it's Lee Brian Kendrick vs Isaiah Swerve Scott. Pretty good match. Swerve wins by pinfall after hitting the JML driver. Post-match, Swerve offers the handshake to Kendrick, who refuses. Moving on to the New Japan G1 standings. And I know that in Supercard yesterday, I said that we would possibly be doing predictions for the finals. As of right now, they still haven't announced the card, so no, we will not do a predictions video for it. We might still do predictions for it, but there won't be a video. So quite possibly what happens is, I show up with a belt. Anyway, A block standings. Ibushi is on 14, Ospreay, Switchblade, and Okada on 12, Taichi, Cobb, Ishii, and Shingo on 8, Suzuki on 6, and Yuji on 2, meaning Ibushi wins A block and is going to the finals. B block standings are Sonata, Evil, Naito on 12, Kenta, ZSJ on 10, Tana and Juice on 8, Yano on 6, Yoshihashi on 4. That means Sonata wins A block and is going to meet Ibushi in the finals. So yeah, that was that. The finals are Ibushi versus Sonata. Little bit different to Evil, not even Evil, bloody Naito versus Switchblade, King Switch. But yeah, so quite possibly I win my title back today. Or tonight. But yeah, so that's been it for this episode of the World of Wrestling podcast. Next week will be the final one for a while. We will go on hiatus after next week. So yeah, I'll talk to Kyle, see when he feels like coming back, or when he feels like he can come back. He won't know at the moment, I can guarantee you that. He won't know for a while. But, when I say I'll ask him, I don't mean I'll ask him in between now and next week. I'll just ask him at some point, and eventually he'll be able to come back. And at that point, we will start the podcast back up again. Possibly when we start it up, it will be a different format and everything. We might decide to do it a whole lot different. Maybe it'll turn into just the big moments instead of just every little detail. So, I don't know. We'll work it out. But we still have one more week of this anyway. So, other than that, I guess I should close this out by saying, like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. If you don't want to do that, then follow our Facebook and Twitter. Even if you do want to hit the notification bell, also follow our Facebook and Twitter. Links to those will be in the description down below. Let's see, what else is there? I've already told you to like and share the video. I've already said to do that. I guess it's just goodbye and good night.